we're here today to share the findings of the World Economic Forum's Global Security Outlook Report 2023. This is a result of research in collaboration with the forum's communities and our partner Accenture, in which we've interviewed and sought input from over 300 executives globally. The most striking finding that we found is that 93% of cyber leaders and 86% of cyber business leaders believe that the geopolitical instability makes a catastrophic cyber event likely in the next 2 years.
And I wonder, Bank of America also says digital currencies, such as central bank digital currencies and stablecoins, are the natural evolution of money and payments. What are your thoughts on that?
Spot on. I believe that absolutely. Normal fiat currencies is a great method of payment. It's a store of value. It gets stuff done. But the ability to have programmable money, interacting with smart contracts, pulling out friction, and really helping large-scale enterprise elevate their business models to transparency, real-time payments, real-time rev splits with smart contracts is absolutely a step in the right direction. And this is absolutely the case, whether it's a stablecoin, whether it's a CBDC. They've all got this programmable component. It does differ, though, right? Not all stablecoins created equal. Not all protocols created equul that we're designing the smart contracts on top of. Mm-hmm. But it's absolutely where we're going.
Give a type of money that can only be spent for a specific number of reasons. And some worry about that state control or whatever, but like in this particular narrow use case, you want to give checks to individuals to get the economy moving again. Yeah. So if you think of programmable money that expires if you don't spend it.
Can we talk Metaverse? Because you've got this big demonstration here, and you're actually getting in. You think the future is the Metaverse of some sort. What is it? What's the bet?
So here, first Metaverse with a public purpose, complete killer app. Governments are going crazy about it, and I want to tell you why it's
What do you
real.
mean by that?
So Metaverse is a public purpose, solving real problems. So here, we're taking people to the bottom of the ocean. And just like you went to, in the U.S., to Washington, D.C. to see the monument because the teacher was like, if you read about it, you won't care. Right. But if you're there, it matters. When you're at the bottom of the ocean, you have different kinds of conversations. Now think about what we're doing in the States, in the U.S., social services, caseworkers quitting because when they go into a house to help and evaluate a child, they're in dangerous situations, they're not prepared. We're working with state right now to train social workers in the metaverse so they can immerse themselves. What's it going to feel like? What do I have to look like? 17% decrease in turnover. So using the metaverse to address these things, wildfires in California, huge problem. Training people in the metaverse to actually how you deal with the wildfires, improve efficacy, but also learn differently ahead of the time. It's super exciting.
This week said she felt a little dizzy and nauseous after it. Is it like real-time immersion where I get car sick, so that worried me a little.
It's interesting. I don't feel that way. I think some people, by the way, my husband's a gamer, so if you get used to it. What I would say is that the next generation of headsets, so ProQuest, for example, that Meta just put out, is game-changing in terms of that feeling. And so
it totally changes it because it's how they're actually. It's what the screens look like and it's the resolution of the screens and how they're actually lined up with your pupils.
That will be the device piece of it, and that will be a zero issue. It's exciting. And by the way, you can do it in 2D because it's for the public purpose. You have to be inclusive, and so we built it both in 2D and 3D.
What's the cost to do this for you?
The cost to do what?
To put this Metaverse project together at a time when obviously it's not at scale yet. And so I'm always curious about the sort of first movers. I know you're doing some of this in partnership with Microsoft. But what's the cost look like to put something like this together?
So for us, it's a cost of business. Our cloud business was $1 billion a year a decade ago. It's $26 billion now. We started doing that 15 years ago, right? So for us, working with emerging technologies, being ahead of the curve is what we do. And what is most interesting about this work is that because we're doing it with not-for-profits, governments, and companies, we're actually shaping the technology at scale, which is, you can't put a price on that.
Here's a harder one for you. I know you're working with Microsoft. Everybody gives Meta a hard time, and the stock has obviously gotten crushed in part because there are people who are critical and don't believe. Are you a believer that that'll work?
That the metaverse will work? Absolutely.
The metaverse will work and what Meta's trying to do, and that 5-10 years from now, we'll all be wearing these these goggles? Not all the time, but enough.
Yeah, I believe that we will. There's four big things. Consumers want to do it. 55% all say they want to do it in the next 12 months. Industrial metaverse, huge. Enterprise metaverse. I've already got 150,000 people going through it to onboard. First diversity fair in the metaverse starting next month. The use cases are enormous.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we have the World Economic Forum says that a catastrophic cyber attack is imminent over the next 2 years. And we see at Davos, we see a lot of mind control, a lot of programming on a lot of political agendas. And I'll save that for a Patreon video. But we know programmable money is right around the corner, telling you what, when, and how to buy, and you have 3 to 6 months to spend it, or poof, it's gone. We know we have UBI being tested around the globe, and especially in the United States, universal basic income. I put plenty of articles in the Patreon. But in the United States, the masses are so disconnected from reality by the time they wake up. We know the robots, algorithms, and drones would have taken over this economy. Now we have the Accenture CEO on the Metaverse. And guys, we know people are going to be traveling in the Metaverse, working in the Metaverse, sitting on the couch. And we know Accenture works with Microsoft, Ripple. We have them with the Digital ID 2020, partnering with Gavi, Microsoft, the Rockefeller Foundation. Like in my NWO book, all these corporations are linked for the NWO's agenda, to move the agenda forward. The word metaverse is just a marketing ploy, but this artificial world is going to be the reality. Nothing will be real, and that's why they keep talking about artificial meat, turning real-life products and turning them virtual. And then also we have artificial intelligence. The Microsoft CEO, everything that we do, AI is going to be embedded in it. And of course, for the first few years, they're going to say it's here to assist you, but it's really there to replace you. And then we have NFTs. And the power of NFTs from the very beginning, I told you what they was going to be for. Not only just identity, but turning real estate into an NFT. And then he talked about carbon credits. And we know all this is about the fourth industrial revolution. But first, the Fed has to destroy this legacy market by raising rates and running off this balance sheet. And we had the BOJ made no changes. Now, it was supposed to go 50 basis points towards the yield curve, but we know if they did that, it would make the dollar even weaker. But we know the other central banks, the BOE, ECB in the United States, they're definitely going to be raising rates and running off this balance sheet. The Bank of Japan is still sitting at negative interest rates because of the United States. And remember, the Bank of Japan leaders were brought to California to plan out the fourth industrial revolution, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take over the economy, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
It will be a revolution, but there is a certain fear, particularly about artificial intelligence. People feel it dehumanizes us and so on. Now, what steps do we need actually to make sure that those technologies, particularly artificial intelligence, remain society-oriented and human-centered?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and I think a very important consideration, and quite frankly, a design consideration. In fact, one of the things we think a lot about is how to deploy this technology to empower human beings to do more. So, for example, like on New Year's Day, I saw this tweet by Andrej Karpathy, who is an ex-founder of the autopilot group at Tesla, who's an AI developer. And so he sort of referenced perhaps the biggest product that made a difference in his life in the last 12 months was the GitHub Copilot we had launched last year. So here's a software developer using tools and saying, Now GitHub Copilot is generating 80% of his code. So that doesn't mean Andrej is not writing new code and being at his creative best. It just so happens that now he has 80% leverage in doing what he's doing. He's still the pilot. He does have a co-pilot. So that's why I even like the branding of what we did there, because I think it helps put the pilot in charge and the co-pilot helping.
Where NFT was applied before is not the way it's going to be continued to be adopted. It's going to be for enterprise use cases. I can see this for healthcare records. I can see this for...
Most people know NFTs as, Bored Apes and CryptoPunks, but it can be attached to real-world assets.
Absolutely, absolutely. I see real estates coming around this same way. Carbon credits as NFTs. All of this is in the process. So it's good news from that side. And Metaverse, coming back to Metaverse, look, I do think it's a transition. You have to give enterprises a path to slowly evolve into that model. It's not a revolution. You're not going to establish, I opened up a branch in Metaverse and people are going to come there. It's just not going to work that way. So I do believe the transition is slowly towards from where we are into an augmented reality, so you can have more personalized experience with your existing devices, not a head-mounted device, and then eventually going into a immersive experience in the Metaverse worlds. So IBM is focused on making sure that journey is understood by the enterprises and helping them through it.
Now, to a surprise move by the Bank of Japan, it kept its yield curve control band unchanged despite pressure from markets. The dollar, as you might imagine, strengthened against the yen overnight. And Steve Leisman joins us now to break down the decision and to clarify things, make it clear for us, because the initial move when Japan did this, what was it, 6 weeks ago or so? They started move. That was a surprise then. Now it's a surprise that they didn't move further, I guess, Steve. Is that the way to look at it?
Yeah, and the reason, Joe, is because what had happened was the 10-year JGB, the 10-year Treasury from Japan, had been trading up above the band. Depends on what you look at, but it had been as high as 60 basis points. And so the thinking was that the BOJ was going to raise that limit, because what does it have to do? It has to buy a lot of bonds to keep that upper level or upper ceiling on the yield curve in place. Instead, they kept it in place. And I guess Kuroda, the governor of the Bank of Japan, last time when he said we were making this move, it was not the start of a big change. I guess take him at his word when that happens. On the other hand, Joe, another interesting story that's developing is the European Central Bank. There was talk that maybe they would not do so much in the way of big rate hikes. Maybe instead of 50s, they were going to do 25. But I'm just reading now on the wire that in Davos, the governor of the Bank of France, Villeroy, is kind of reaffirming that 50 basis point guidance from the president of the ECB. So kind of waking up this morning, Joe, with the sense that maybe central banks are going to be doing less because inflation has been coming down here in the U.S. Some of the reports out of Europe have been a little better. And if you look at what's happening, for example, in the U.S. 10-year, what you see is that it is down quite a bit, 10 basis points on the news of Japan, with the notion that, hey, maybe central banks aren't going as far as we thought.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come, Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. From COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.